So we are getting ready for Spiritforged, and that means right now, especially with Wave 2 coming in, that prices are still falling, or at least, leveling out. That's really good to be able to see. So what prices are continuing to fall, where are things leveling out, and what can you expect and help to best prepare for when Spiritforged releases on February 13th? All of that and more starting right now. So this is going to be the biggest thing. We're kind of at the tail end of where Origins at least is, and we're starting to prepare for Spiritforged. For those of you who are brand new to TCGs, that's exactly usually what ends up happening. We're done with kind of the summoner skirmishes. We don't necessarily have a whole ton of regional stuff going on, at least yet. And so everyone's kind of at a little bit of a lull now. They don't know necessarily what quite to do. Skirmish or Nexus Knights are kind of teetering off. People have, been done with the Nexus packs for a while now, and product is still coming in and getting ready and things like that. So it's kind of just like, that's okay. But it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this continues to shape up, though, because I'm going to be curious to see what else is going to start being hyped. We have already seen some crazy price going into Draven, especially with a deck list called Miracle Draven, where you are running 3 Seal of Discord, and that basically just will cover the power cost of one of your spells or whatever else you want to play out. It covers the power. It's great. But the biggest thing is that it was able to be used in such a good deck that now it's just like, okay, what now? And so that's going to be the biggest thing. That's going to be one of the biggest price increases of last week, or of this week at least, and something to really keep an eye on. Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is that there is still some really unique stuff going on, and especially tomorrow, we are going to be releasing a meta report based off of the regionals that just finished today. The biggest thing about that is going to be one of the best things for you to be able to watch to know if I want to start building this deck. If I don't have these cards of set 1, now could be a very good time to start picking that stuff up. Because then when you go and you get your box, you get your packs, you go to your pre-release and release day events, then you're very well going to be able to build your deck a little bit quicker and more efficiently. It's also going to be interesting because if you are going to any pre-release events, please be sure to give this a follow. We're going to give you all the breakdowns, including a video that is already made discussing what you can expect with pre-releases, because it's a little bit different than other TCGs. So that's going to be an absolute blast. But going back onto topic, that's going to be the biggest thing that you need to do is prepare for this up-and-coming meta. If you are going Ezreal, cool. What do these deck lists look like? What do we need to do to get prepared? If we are going with Draven, all right, same thing, or Fiora, whatever else it might be, we get prepared. And so that way, when we go to our Nexus Night come week 1, we are ready to go. And so this is a really exciting time. Now, it's going to also be interesting to see where this meta levels out. And we're going to be, again, breaking down the top 64 and all that on tomorrow's video. So, with that still, though, we have some interesting price action that has been going. Now, the biggest thing here, I gotta say, Seal of Discord going up to $43. Even the Chaos Rune alternate arts are really interesting, too, being at now $27. There's a little bit of an increase there. And then even, oddly enough, Lee Sin, I guess, is going to be one of the bigger ones here. Oh, wow, I'm small. Okay, that works. Anyway, so with this next, also Victor, again, this is getting prepared for Spiritforged, and Victor, the blue Victor, is looking like it could be a very versatile deck that gives you a lot of bang for your buck and has a good amount of removal spells, which is going to be really helpful. And he has the ability that anytime that you play a spell during your opponent's turn, you are able to create a 1 might unit token, which is very helpful for what he is able to do. Biggest thing, though, is I'm like, gosh, does someone know something about Lee Sin that I don't? There was a Lee Sin deck that did get played over the region regional tournament. It was round 6 of the regionals, was doing rather well. And that might be something that people are preparing for in this next set and being like, well, Lee Sin did good here in the regional. Maybe that's something that I play. So that might be the price increase or reason for that. Now, we also have the Rasha the Sunderer. Now, this is the big reason. One, he's played in Miracle Draven, and also he's played in Ezreal as well, because you're going to be able to get him out. You discard a lot of cards really quickly, and then you're able to just go for it. So really cool to be able to at least see that. Even Smokescreen getting a 90% increase is interesting. Targon's Peak, again, that's going to be in Draven. That was in a lot of the winning decks, a lot of the well-performing decks, and so that's even going to get a little bit of an increase, but again, 19 cents. Wow. Okay, anyway. Top 3 decliners is going to be interesting, though. Kaisa going down to $27. Now, interesting that it is this version more than anything. Same with Jinx falling down a little bit, and then even Ari. So kind of interesting that this is the way that those fell, at least. And then even like a booster pack has been coming down, which is good. About time. Still is about, what, $8 above MSRP online. Don't do it. Mystic Reversal is kind of moving into becoming a little bit more of a dead card. There's just better things out there. Instead of actually taking over a card, instead you have Not So Fast. You have Hard Bargain and things like that that will counter spells for purple, for green, for everything else. That Mystic Reversal is no longer necessarily in the meta. It was a big one for about a week or two because it was able to take over the Time Warp. And that went off successfully once, and everyone's like, whoa, that's such a good card. Mine, kind of thing. Then also we have Lecturing Yordle, which has kind of seen a bit of a fallout now. Of course, remember that if there are any stars here, that is going to be foil versions. Lecturing Yordle is going to be an exception because he is an uncommon, so he doesn't automatically come foiled. So keep that in mind. But Lecturing Yordle being able to draw a card when he plays and also having tank has fallen a bit away, but even the foil version is now going down to $1.46. Real interesting there. Tide Turner is going down, though even it is ran in Draven, so it might have that chance of getting right back up in price a little bit. And this is going to be the biggest thing, too, is that this is the first regional, so there is still a lot to learn from this. Ezreal was still incredibly underrepresented, I think. I think he's going to be up there a little bit more. We also didn't necessarily see a whole ton of like Miracle Draven, which is a bit better of a risk and reward type deck, where if you get the risk correctly played and you're able to then reward yourself with a super wide board, it can be very interesting to see. But this was a more conventional version of the Dravens here, and even the one who won had some sauce, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't necessarily anything that was like completely mind-blowing or out of the ordinary. And so still, though, we're seeing, again, the booster boxes going up in price. It seems like a little bit of Wave 2 ended up coming in. Prices kind of fell a little bit, and now they're going right back up. Yay. And that's okay. Whatever. It's mainly the scalpers that have been holding on to their boxes since pre-release, and they're still trying to sell to make a profit. We'll see if they actually do sell. Teemo continues to go up in price, another $59 increase in the 7-day period, so things to keep in mind with that. And signature cards are also even a little bit up on the climb, and the Ari promo is still going up. So kind of an interesting idea there. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about here as we continue to talk about what is being bought and sold here is that I know multiple game store owners here in Utah. I've been talking to them. I've been asking them about what is going on with Spiritforged product. And a lot of them are actually very pleasantly surprised. They're getting more allocation than what they had previously, which is awesome. And that means that we should have a lot more product. With that, though, I still think, though, what's going to happen is if you do get your product on day one, you should be able to do so with little to no issue, unless you are maybe in like an obscure town or a small town or something that only has like one game store that supports Riftbound in that case, whatever it might be. Then it might be a little bit more difficult. But for those of you who are in like the big cities or things like that, if you go to your game store, you're going to be able to probably get the product that you want. Now, of course, there is always that one guy that's like, I want 10 cases. Dude, no, you don't. Well, yeah, you do, but you're not getting that. But I've had a lot of friends who have been like, hey, I want 1 case. Hey, I want 5 boxes. I want 3 boxes. And in our pre-orders that we've been able to do, we've been able to get those with little to no opposition. A lot of game stores, though, especially the one that I know of, is still doing, though, no pre-orders, but same-day pickup kind of thing. So if you go to the store, they'll have the product, and then you can go and purchase it at MSRP. At least that's what our stores do around here, luckily. And then you'll be able to get your product. So a lot of good stuff, a lot of good news there, and something that I am pretty excited for. And again, a lot of this is getting and preparing for the next set here. And again, purple is going to be that dominant force. You're seeing Draven here now going up in price a little bit. Again, that's maybe about $1 increase. It had a huge tank, and now it's going up a little bit more. Singularity, Sprite Mother, that's again going to be some Draven decks. Kiana is going to be there a little bit. Tasty Fae Folk is even getting sold a little bit. I kind of am interested to see why that might be. Really interesting to see here. Then other ones on the pricing side, this is really interesting because Kaisa is now down to $89 for the alt arts. And again, this might be the conundrum where there's even like Miracle Draven, for example, that does run 3 seals, but doesn't run any Kaisa survivors. And even the alt arts and things like that don't necessarily need to be run. Still, though, the fact that Kaisa is $80 for the regular card, $90 for the alt art, if you do really want to run Kaisa, I mean, at that point for the alt art, unless you really love, I mean, don't get me wrong, the alt art here is really good. But unless you really want to, you don't have to, it's $10 more for a textured awesomeness card. Just saying. But again, though, we're seeing these prices continue to come down. We're seeing how they're able to act. And that's going to be the biggest thing here. And Kaisa can continue to fall even at $78, which is really good to see. And then likewise, on the flip side, the Kaisa alternate art here, look at that decline going from $120. Now, that was $120 from December 29th to December 31st. 22 people bought it at that price. Feel sorry for them. And now it's down to 91 again, only like 2 weeks later. So definitely something to keep in mind. Don't buy the Chinese versions. Don't forget about that. But instead, you can go and see $86 here. Really good options for you to be there. Now, of course, a lot of people are going to be saying that's still high. I agree in the sense of this Kaisa here, the regular Kaisa. But the alt art, it's an alt art, so that's usually going to be holding its value, especially for, one, how powerful Kaisa is and how popular she is. Now, Dead Bloom Predator has fallen, but not necessarily continued to. We've had a little bit of its bottom out near $64, and then it had a little bit of an uptick. So now it's at $69. Nice. And, we'll see what is able to happen. But again, this isn't necessarily a card that has been played all that much here in the set, so you're not going to be maybe seeing it do a whole lot. It might continue to fall in price. Again, there's all those stupid Chinese versions, but then you're going to be able to have a good showing all in all to be able to get things moving. Then even like Time Warp, for example, is having a really big fall off too, which is making a big difference, going down to $52, for example, and that's a pretty big increase though, or decrease, especially since it was over 100. I think it priced out at around 110, 150, $115 in November. That was at the peak of Kaisa, and then it really kind of teetered down now to $52. So again, another really great showing there. Otherwise, again, the prices are going to be relatively normal. You're seeing Dazzling Aurora, though we did also see in this regionals, we saw Draven versus Misfortune Aurora in round 7. So it's like, if they're choosing to do or to show that as a feature match, that's something to keep in mind, because it's like, well, if you still want to run MF that could be a good option. And again, Seal of Discord, it's been absolutely skyrocketing in price. And I mean, rightfully so. It is a really good card for what it needs to do in Draven and even Ezreal. So we're going to be seeing that price. Flash is still $36. It's not coming down until we get more Spiritforged or until Flash gets in the Nexus Knight packs. Otherwise, it's just not going to come down. Then also we have the Thousand Tail Watchers leveled out again at about $24. White Flame Protector has had one of the biggest plummets in price. Look at that. $75 mid-November. Again, that was more peak Yi. That was kind of the big contender against it. And then it was between $69 and $59 for about a month, give or take, and now it is down to $25. Now, again, that does have a lot to do with Spiritforge being such a power-hungry deck that you don't necessarily want to play a White Flame Protector for 8 and 2 because, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get up to those 8 runes to be able to do so. And so, that's definitely something to keep people off. Now, Seal of Unity used to be $50. Now it's back down to $24. Again, like I say, people chase the hype. That's exactly why. And now you're even seeing a Cathian Rain, and it did not have a great showing in the first regionals in China. Now, a Cathian Rain is down from near $80 all the way down to $20. So that's a big difference maker right there. It did get the errata on how reflexive triggers work, and a Cathian Rain was at one point a reflexive trigger, and now it is normal. And so, again, that's going to be a little bit of a fall there, but that's okay. Then, of course, your seals are still kind of lingering around. Inverted Timelines has actually been around the same price. It did have a peak at $60, and that was kind of with a Teemo craze for a tiny bit. And it still is a really good option. But again, you're not necessarily going to be running that a whole ton, or at least yet, in set 2. And I say yet because there still is a ton to explore in the Spiritforge meta. I mean, even people are trying like the Fiora baited hook, which is a really interesting combo there. And some people are really liking how that's looking. And then otherwise, things are kind of down to normal. Set hasn't necessarily had a huge fall. Bullet Time had about a $6 fall from last week. Darius, the alt art, is now down to 15. It was about 22. Ari Inquisitive is now down to 15. That's another one that's also had some really interesting dips, going from about $30 now down to 15. That's a half price decrease. That's really good. Love to be able to see that. And then, of course, the other seals continue to kind of fall down in price, which is awesome. Even Blast of Power has fallen down a little bit because you're not necessarily seeing it ran nearly as much in Spiritforge. Again, the big reason why it had such a high increase was because of the no unit victor list. That was such a big difference maker there. Unchecked Power might have an increase in price. Again, if Miracle Draven becomes really big here in America, Unchecked Power is probably going to go up in price just because it's able to do some big stuff. Same with Divine Judgment. If you're running yellow and you're going against Miracle Draven, this is going to be the card to side in because it takes everything back. It's even a little bit better than Downwell in that regard because you're able to then just flush everything back except for 2 units, 2 gear, 2 runes, and 2 cards. And so that can really slow them down in that case, and really interested to see if this even starts to get a price increase, because even at one point being near $30, and that was at also the peak of lack of product, which is really tough. But otherwise, things are actually looking really good. Zonia's Hourglass used to be around $13 to $15, now down to $7. Darius used to be $10 to $12, now down to $6. And this is what we like to see. Again, though, the interest of this meta right now is not necessarily all that special. It's kind of just eh. But again, if you can start doing your research now, start figuring out what deck you really like. You play on TCG Arena, you try out an Ezreal, you try out a Teemo set 2, you try out whatever else you want to try, and you find one that you like, and you're like, well, I think I'm going to be starting to run Fiora. I better start picking up some Kianas or whatever else it might be, to be able to prepare. It's a really fun idea. It's a good way to get things moving, and prices might still continue to come down for probably another week or two. And then as soon as we start getting pre-release announced, which is going to start on February 6th, well, then people are going to start freaking out and being like, whoa, here we go, kind of thing. So it's going to be fun to see how all of this ends up unraveling here. But again, if you're really starting to look on how to prepare for Spiritforged, find that deck list on Piltover Archive. There's a lot of tournaments that are currently getting run, and there's a lot of really exciting ways for you to figure out what you like the most. For example, every Tuesday, I now host a tournament. You play 4 rounds, and then that's it. But it's going to be Spiritforged from here on out. So keep that in mind. That's going to be really interesting to see how everything incorporates. It's a free tournament as well. You can join down in the link in the Discord below. We're posting the sign-up links every Sunday for you to be able to sign up. So keep that in mind. But it's really fun. And that's going to be the biggest thing here. Prices have continued to fall. That's awesome. Prepare. That's all I'm going to say about that, but Spiritforged is looking like it's going to be a really fun set, and it's going to have some really nice budget options that can still be something to really take it to the meta. Can't wait to see how it's going to look. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for now. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this Market Watch. We are getting ever closer to Spiritforged, and these prices are looking pretty good. So anyway, that is going to be it for now, and until next time, guys, have a good one.